Have you ever loved someone so much you felt like you wouldn't be able to go on if you lost them? In today's story, we catch a glimpse of a beautiful maiden who once felt that way, and we see the consequences that followed. This is a story of Lover's Leap Swinging Bridge in Columbus Junction, Iowa. And by the way, welcome to the Moonlit Tales. True stories, urban legends, and other mysteries from the deep. Make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, and select all notifications so you know every time I upload. The plan is to upload tales like this every Wednesday, but I also want to make and meet reasonable goals. As soon as this video gets 10 likes, I'll post another Moonlit tale on the following Wednesday. I know that won't be a problem for this one, so hit that like button, hit those lights, and let's get into it. I recently traveled to my home state of Iowa to visit my dad. While I was there, I couldn't help but look up some local legends. I was Googling, and the Lover's Leap Bridge caught my eye, and it was only a half hour from where we were staying, so we hopped in our car and we made the trip. Upon arrival, it was only a short hike through a light forest, and then we were there, at the bottom of the ravine of Lover's Leap Swinging Bridge. The bridge was first erected out of used barrel planks in the 1880s, either 80 or 86. Sources on the matter are a little fuzzy, but either way, the bridge is old. Obviously, the current bridge isn't the original. In fact, it's been replaced and upgraded a number of times. The cause of one of those replacements is a matter of historical oddity. In 1920, two teenage boys, brothers Lou and Jesse Tisor, were walking over the bridge as they had many times before. It connected two streets they regularly traveled down. And if you didn't want to use the bridge, which admittedly was not for the faint of heart, you had to go quite a ways out of your way to get around the large ravine. As they were crossing the bridge this time, though, something very scary but strange happened. Now, if you're reading the story from Atlas Obscura, as I did when originally researching it, it says that as the boys were crossing the bridge, the planks gave out from underneath them, and they fell to the bottom of the ravine. The fact that they fell is a matter of recorded history. It really did happen. That's not disputed. And they fell something like 80 feet to the ravine floor, almost in an instant. Now, you might expect this story to take a dark turn with two fatalities, or at least significant injuries. But here is where the story strays from a potential tragedy into something odd for some and miraculous for others. When the boys hit the bottom, they looked at each other, checked themselves over, and to their astonishment, they were fine. In fact, the boys reported that they were still standing upright and they didn't have a scratch on them. Somehow they fell something like 80 feet from the top of the bridge to the bottom of the ravine, and no harm whatsoever came to them. The boys themselves ran home and related what had happened to them, and needless to say, to them and their family, it was nothing short of a miracle. The word quickly spread about the Tisor brothers, and some locals couldn't help but recall the events that had once happened in the ravine an untold amount of years prior. But this story falls more in the realm of legend. It goes like this. One evening, a beautiful Native American woman was picking flowers near the top of the ravine when one of her friends approached her and, with a heavy heart, shared the bad news that her warrior, her lover, had been killed in a fierce battle. Feeling overwhelmed with grief and thinking she couldn't go on, she threw herself off the cliffs to the bottom of the ravine, ending her life. They say that the maiden is buried in an undisclosed location on the ravine floor. Then, and to this day, wanting to make sure that no one has to suffer as she did, she watches over any and all who cross the bridge. And thus, the ravine and the bridge itself has taken on the name Lover's Leap. It was this story that quickly spread after the news of the two brothers who were miraculously saved from a terrible fall. Lou and Jesse Tisor, at least in the eyes of a grateful community, were gently wafted to the ground by a beautiful maiden, protector and watcher of the ravine. It's also said that sometimes in the evenings, when the conditions are just right, and if you listen carefully, as you walk across the bridge or ponder on either side of the ends of the bridge, you can hear her mournful cries. We were there in the evening, and I listened for those cries, but I only heard the rattling of the planks as the occasional passerby crossed, the swaying of the trees in the wind, and the trickle of water echoing down below. If, however, you were emotionally compromised or somehow particularly susceptible, it seemed to me that one might be able to actually hear those cries in all of the natural sounds I just mentioned, especially if the story of the Lover's Leap had been weighing on your mind. Now, does that mean I am a true skeptic? No. I do believe that spirits remain and have influence in this world. I believe that. But one thing that I know is how remarkably easy it is to trick the human mind into believing things that aren't necessarily true. And if there's a good reason to believe, if there is an emotional catalyst, such as resides in the heart of this story, we might find ourselves choosing to believe in something that is ultimately inaccurate. And that is why I started this channel. It's because I wanted to know what's true in spite of what I feel, in spite of what my senses tell me, and what my mind manufactures. If that's what you want to, then make sure to like and subscribe to this channel right now, because that's what's driven me to grow this channel and start a community of like-minded believers with a skeptic eye. But how is it possible that two boys could fall 80 feet and land on their feet without a scratch on them? Well, it's that drive that I was talking about that helped me to see a different perspective of what exactly might have happened to Lou and Jesse Tisor on their miraculous journey to the bottom of the ravine. You see, some sources online imply that the planks gave out as they were crossing, and the two of them fell through the bridge to the ravine floor. If that's the case, it would naturally be very hard to come up with some reasonable explanation as to how they walked away unscathed. However, upon further research, it becomes clear that they didn't fall through the bridge, but that the bridge itself collapsed in its entirety. That being the case, you can imagine the scenario where Lou and Jesse were halfway across the bridge when it gave out. At that moment, they instinctively grabbed the sides of the bridge to stabilize themselves, and as the bridge fell with the boys on it, the trees and lush underbrush, tangling up in ropes and wires of the bridge, dramatically slowed their descent and ultimately gently lowered them to the ground. In this scenario, it is clear they would not have fallen at the full force of gravity and would have been cushioned by all of the undergrowth as they descended to the ravine floor. It would certainly have been a scary and wild ride for sure, but it's no leap of the imagination at this point as to how they could have easily walked away unscathed, and in this instance, there would be no need to invoke the supernatural. This scenario seems to be a very plausible one, and it satisfies my curiosity pertaining to the event. But even now, I'm not ruling out the paranormal. Perhaps the maiden was there, offering a steady hand, maybe even of just comfort as they fell to the ravine floor. I want to be clear, it's not my purpose to dismiss personal belief. It's merely my goal to explore all of the avenues and assume when possible what the most reasonable outcome to events like these could possibly be. And this scenario seems to me the most likely. Shortly after that collapse, the bridge was rebuilt. It was reinforced with new safety measures. And it's that bridge that stands to this day. It's that bridge that me and my dad crossed when we visited. I'd be interested to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys, and I will see you next Wednesday for another Moonlit tale. What's up, ghosts? I hope you enjoyed that story. These stories are made possible by my amazing patrons. If you're interested in supporting this channel further, feel free to take a look at my Patreon. Links in the description. Also, the section underneath them is for the first 5 people who comment the secret message in today's video. They'll be here on the next Moonlit Tales. And finally, make sure to binge all of my Moonlit Minute shorts on my new channel. The link should be right in front of me. Click right there. Go and like, subscribe to my new channel if you haven't. All right, guys, thank you guys so much. Remember, stay paranormal.